It started as a good deed. I swear, sometimes it makes you think. My best friend Nick was on his honeymoon. At 28, he was already in his second marriage. In my opinion, he hit the jackpot with this one. Alice was attractive, had a good job, and was a real angel. Good for him. He deserved it after his first failed marriage. At least the cheater left, and we didn't have to see her anymore. I was responsible for looking after his house while he was away. In fact, there was almost nothing to do. There was no need to care for animals or water plants. I had my keys in case of emergencies and checked his email, and that was almost all. I knew that his new wife would move in with him after they returned and move out of her apartment. Nick's place was a typical bachelor pad, and he wasn't very clean. Looking around after I emptied his mailbox and checked for any packages left on the porch, I saw that he was trying to clean up the mess, but the place really needed a woman's hand and a thorough cleaning. I knew who to turn to, and he knew them very well. My wife Brenda started her cleaning service a couple of years ago. She was a real clean girl. Our house was always perfectly clean, and I did not complain. Her friend Gail was also obsessed with cleanliness, and one evening, after drinking a few beers, they came up with the idea of starting their own service. I was happy to participate in the discussion and contribute my 2 cents where appropriate. I knew a little about how to start a business. I started it twice. The second attempt was successful and has been providing us with a livelihood ever since. The conversation turned to how their business could be differentiated from others. So many commercial cleaning products are crap, my wife wisely remarked, despite the amount of alcohol she drank. And they're poisonous, Gail added. I stopped using them. Now I almost exclusively use Mrs. Mayer's products, and they aren't even that much more expensive. Mayer's? Have you tried seventh generation? Much better, Brenda countered. They got into an argument about which natural and organic cleaning products were better. Shows how little I know. I've never heard of them. Seventh generation, Mrs. Red Mayer's, Castile soap, Trader Zen, Bon Ami, and homemade solutions of orange, vinegar, and more. I sat without interfering, content to watch them. None of them were unattractive, and I decided that as long as I didn't interfere, I had a chance to get lucky tonight. Ultimately, they decided that their thing would be to use environmentally friendly cleaning materials that are good for the environment and all that nonsense. I didn't really believe in this idea, but I didn't want to ruin their mood. I helped them with business basics, marketing, business plan, bank accounts, and so on. I even financed the endeavor, and we decided to use our vacation funds that year to get it started. 6 months later, they sighed sadly. Their business was slowly growing, and I had to pour some money into it every month. Not much, but the ladies almost worked for free. Brenda was constantly tired and often in a bad mood. I thought about telling them to give it up. It was taking a toll on our marriage, was a strain on our bank account, and seemed to be going nowhere. We got together at our house on Sunday. Just the four of us, my wife and I, her partner Gail, and her husband Ron. The conversation returned to the topic of their business and the issue of differentiation. Eco-cleaning products didn't seem to be enough. Ron started a conversation that went downhill. If your clients saw how you cleaned our house, they would definitely become repeat clients. Gail blushed, and I raised my eyebrows in question. Panties are the most modest clothing she wears. Ron, Gail exclaimed. Of course, the image that came into my mind was not something I would share. Gail was beautiful enough, so normally beautiful, but her body. God, some impressive breasts and a nice round ass. A little wider in the waist than absolutely necessary, but I definitely wouldn't mind seeing her mopping the floor in just her panties. It's true, her favorite thing to wear is naked. I smiled. I would pay a premium for a maid like that. Stupid, I know now, but I dropped it. Remember that French maid costume you surprised me with one day? I reminded Brenda to prevent any potential problems. She smiled. Oh yeah, it started your engine. Gail took it all more seriously than I expected. Maybe something like Hooters, short shorts, and a tight t-shirt tied in a knot? Do you think that'll keep the phone ringing? Every blood-red bachelor in the area, I laughed. And most married people, too. If they could do it, Ron said. Brenda chimed in. Do you really think so? They'd pay extra for that? I looked at her and Gail, who seemed to be seriously considering the idea. Would you do it? She shrugged. No worse than going to the beach, really. Maybe a bikini top and tight shorts. Gail leaned forward enthusiastically. We could give them a choice. Sexy maid, lingerie, bikinis, different price points. Will all your employees do this? Asked Ron. I don't know if everyone will, or even if we want everyone to do this. I imagine that for the right price we could get many. Raise the wage from $9 an hour to $15 and raise our prices by $10. I know I could find girls. The question is, will it really work? After a week of endless discussions, they were determined to give it a try. I didn't feel 100% comfortable with the idea and made sure Brenda knew that. It's just a costume, Dave. We'll make sure it's absolutely clear that no touching, no solicitation, nothing like that will happen. I've looked into it. Lots of companies do something like this. In most major metro areas, we'd be the only ones here. I'm still not sure I like all these guys staring at my wife, I insisted. She laughed, sitting on my lap and hugging me. With the girls I'm picking up, I doubt they'll look at me much. Lots of young, strong bodies looking for work. Looks like we can pay them up to $20 an hour and still make a good profit. College girls, single moms, underpaid masters of arts, there are many of them. Maybe management should wear more conservative clothes, more professional. She shook her head. No way. That's the big secret. We show up to the first meeting dressed in sexy clothes, set all the rules of the game, and the clients stick to us. Then the cleaning crew does the real work. What if I say no? I asked. She looked disappointed. I wouldn't argue with you. You've done so much for me, I have no reason to complain. Please don't do this. I think this could be the key. We already have the experience and infrastructure. The costume part could be the beginning of something big. You know, nothing bad will happen. I would never let this happen, please. She switched to her seductive tricks, kissing me, spinning cutely on my lap. I can never thank you enough for everything you've already done, but I promise I'll try my best. Really, really hard. How to refuse the woman you love when she is chasing her dream and you only have a little anxiety. I could not. I went into support mode again. I found a student who improved our website by adding interactive online booking, selecting costumes, adding a photo gallery, a little SEO, a few paid ads, and things got a little better. They had 2 cars, and we added beautiful wraps advertising their business to attract attention and word of mouth. Their staff consisted of 4 underpaid illegals who worked with them for $9 an hour. After 2 weeks, they replaced 2 of the 4 and added 4 more, paying them $15 to $20 an hour. They almost doubled their prices. It worked. They finally started getting enough work to keep both teams busy for about 30 hours a week. Brenda's mood improved and our sex life, which had almost died out over the past 6 months, finally emerged from the coma. We became intimate at least twice a week. It wasn't everything I had hoped for, but it was a big step in the right direction. We were still quite young, and my wife was always a beauty. Giving her foot and back massages and taking care of her aches and pains was finally starting to do some good. Thank God, because every message made me horny as hell. I lay next to her after a particularly pleasant weekly love affair. It looks like your business is doing well, I remarked. Better, but not great, she admitted. I didn't think it would be so difficult. How are things going with repeat customers? I asked. Not as good as I hoped. I thought that by this time we would have several dozen regular customers at least once a week or at least once every 2 weeks. I know we are doing a good job. The suits attract new customers. Interesting. Why don't they use our services more often? Have you thought about a loyalty program, like tiered memberships, VIP clients, that sort of thing? Why, we clean all places the same way. She seemed a little annoyed that I dared tell her how to run her business. I gently stroked her flat stomach. God, she was so beautiful. Maybe you could offer them a discount for becoming a weekly customer or preferred cleaning times, selecting cleaning crews, offering bonus cleaning activities that you only do for VIP members. Those things that people never want to do themselves: windows, blinds, dishes, silver polishing, even ironing. Do you think anyone will pay for this? Sure. If I weren't married to the perfect wife, I'd be happy to pay to iron my shirts once a week. Change light bulbs, especially hard to find ones. Cleaning windows is a pain, but maybe you could partner with a window company and give each other clients. I don't know, you're an expert. I'm just trying to give ideas, some way to get people to sign up and use you exclusively. She smiled. Isn't it your job to use me exclusively? Sign me up for VIP, I said. You can clean my pipes anytime. Yes, sir, one of the most authentic cleaning experiences. I trust you will be pleased. You are the best, you know, Dave. You never complain, you are always ready to help, you fully support me, even with suits. I don't tell you often enough how much I appreciate it. Sorry for not showing it more in the last few months. It's a tough thing, starting a new business. I'll admit it was a little tough for us at the time, but I think it's getting better, and if that's what you want, I'm 100% for you. Her gentle look, the loving way she spoke made me want her more than ever. Thank you, darling. I'll try to show you more often how important this is to me. You deserve it. After a little more than 9 months, they finally seemed to have reached a turning point. They were constantly busy and added a third brigade. It meant longer days and busy Saturdays, but I saw how happy my wife was, and she made sure our time together was quality. Brenda began contributing to the family account, and I was pleased to see our savings slowly grow. 3 months ago, she surprised me with a check, returning our original deposit. We took Gail and her husband out for big steaks, and I bought my first bottle of Dom Perignon to celebrate. We got drunk and Gail talked me down in the kitchen, showing how much she appreciated my support for their efforts by tickling my tonsils. Things were looking up. Our sex life was much better, which I attributed to Brenda's new success. We were active at least several times a week. She always took Sunday off and made sure Sunday mornings were time for us to get reacquainted in bed. God, I lived the sweet life. Our sex took a 180-degree turn. After 2 years, our relationship seemed even stronger than before she started her business. The only negative were the children, or their absence. We talked about this a lot when we were dating and the first few months after our wedding. We both wanted children, but we were young and wanted to establish ourselves first. It seemed to me that we were there. We had a nice house, I was making almost 6 figures a year, and we had money in the bank. Brenda kept putting it off, saying she wanted to make sure her business was doing well before she got pregnant. We were both already in our late 20s. There was no physical hurry, but it seemed to me that the time was coming. I decided not to pressure her, but still had a date in mind when we were supposed to move in this direction or sort things out. Of course, it was her business that I chose to do this favor for Nick, even though he was away and wouldn't have been able to appreciate the view. I sat in his office after scouting the place and determining what he needed. I decided to go online and organize everything. It was a spontaneous decision, and I planned it for the day before he returned home. I opened the cleaning website and was surprised to see the message, "Welcome back, Nick." Nice little touch. He was automatically logged in as a VIP guest. I was a little surprised that he used the service regularly. His house certainly didn't look newly decorated. He may have stopped using it due to wedding expenses. I haven't been to the website in almost a year and was amazed at how good and professional it looked. I clicked the button to order cleaning and was taken to the VIP page. I was very pleased that we were able to organize the cleaning so quickly. This meant that we had to schedule a morning visit starting at 8 a.m. At the top of the page were 3 pictures of preferred costumes: sexy maid, lingerie, and bikini. The sexy maid was the cheapest option, and since no one would see, I chose her. Still, $10 an hour for the other 2 suits seemed like a bargain. When it came to the actual cleaning, I had a long list of items in front of me with checkboxes to select from. I saw that she took my suggestions to heart. I decided not to skimp and noted most of them, each with an additional fee. Some of them were typical weekly cleaning items, others were special ones that are usually done once a year. I started by marking a complete weekly cleaning. I noticed the mattress turning over and was surprised to see two options, top down or bottom up. Strange. It seemed like the same thing, so I chose the first option, bottom up. Cleaning the baseboards, detailed cleaning the bathroom, cleaning the vents, all seemed useful. Blinds seemed like an obvious choice. There was even an item for decorative arrangements. As I said, the place seemed to be in need of a woman's touch, so I checked that box as well. It turned out to be more expensive than I expected. The amount exceeded $300. Not surprisingly, my wife was able to pay back the original loan. I confirmed the payments and was surprised that there was no option to pay. The last confirmation page stated that payment would be made from an active account. Crap. Now I'll have to pay Nick back when he gets back and he finds out how much I spent. Okay? He'll love it. Even if not, I'm sure his new bride Alice will appreciate it. 2 days later, I took the morning off to clean. After all, this is my business, and ownership has some side benefits. I settled into his office, doing some work that I could do remotely. I waited for the doorbell to ring to let the cleaners in. I was on the phone with one of my clients on the East Coast when I realized I could hear a vacuum cleaner running. After finishing the call, I opened the door to find a team of scantily clad, fidgety cleaners hard at work. A short, buxom Latina walked up to me wearing a French-made outfit, showing off her generous cleavage. "The lady is ready in the master bedroom," he asked. If my high school Spanish was correct, then the missus was ready in the master bedroom. I followed the direction given to understand why she was ready. I opened the door to Nick's bedroom, and my heart almost stopped. On the bed lay a beautiful naked woman, lying on her stomach, her legs spread and tied to the bedposts. Her hands were handcuffed and secured to the headboard. She was blindfolded. The pillow lifted her hips in an inviting position. She laughed, and I almost lost my breakfast. "You came back a day early. I thought you said you were done with our service, Nikki, being married and all. Couldn't refuse, huh?" I felt my body tremble and cold sweat broke out on my forehead. My wife Brenda lay on the bed, naked, ready to be used. Apparently, this was a common occurrence. Her sweet laugh, always so sweet, now sounded like nails on a chalkboard. "I know you're here, Nikki. Why so quiet? The cat caught you by the tongue. I can't believe you finally chose the bottom-up service. And the blinds? Getting a little perverted, huh? You said you always liked to watch in my eyes. What has changed?" I felt my heart pounding and blood rushing to my head. Unfortunately, I also felt the blood rushing to my nether region. I was furious. "Come on, lover. I know you want it. What kind of game of silence is this? Is it part of the game?" She shook her legs and jingled her handcuffs. "A decorative arrangement? Is this it? Do you want a little role play?" "Oh, sir, please don't hurt me," she whined in a high-pitched young girl's voice. "I'm so helpless, use me, ya if necessary, but don't harm me." Damn bitch. Our marriage was over, but I would have used her. Hell yes. She's been depriving me of this ass for too long. I took off my shoes and pants and climbed onto the bed behind her. "Take it, Nikki. Take me, baby," she growled. She pissed me off. I had sex with her hard. This bitch even told her clients that not only am I a cuckold, but that they are getting what she denied me. I was still in shock. My best damn friend. It was impossible to understand. I thought we had a good marriage. I was sure of this about 10 minutes ago. How the hell did I miss this? I will never touch her again, that dirty little bastard. My wife was a fucking cheater, and I got her into the business. I felt tears in my eyes when I realized how this was going to end. My marriage fell apart. Damn, my life is over. God, Nikki, that was incredible, she sighed, turning on her side and looking down at me. Again, you are always incredible. This blindfold was getting on my nerves, but I decided to leave it on a little longer. I climbed up the bed and saw the key to the handcuffs hanging on a string on a chain. I undid the handcuffs, and she rolled over onto her back, smiling. I lay on top of her, hugging her one last time. Brenda and I had a good time. It's a shame I married a lying, cheating bitch. There will be no more good times for us. Always. She reached for the bandage and removed it, squinting and blinking rapidly. I saw her eyes focus and look at me, those beautiful eyes that I fell in love with. I ran my fingers through her long, dark hair, trying to capture this feeling forever. "Dave," she whispered nervously. "Oh God, Dave." "SHH," I told her, pressing my finger to her lips. "Do you know how much I love you, Brenda? I've always loved you. From the moment I first saw you, I will always love you. Please, baby, let me explain." My hands moved to her neck and began to squeeze. "Not a word, Angel. Not one damn word. It's simple." I squeezed harder, cutting off her air. The stupid bitch didn't listen. I continued to squeeze, my rage welling up inside me as I watched her face turn red, my fingers digging into her soft skin. After a few seconds, she began to struggle, pulling my arms, hitting my arms, her body squirming under me. I squeezed harder, her eyes bulged with fear, her face turned red, her lips turned pale. Her nails dug into my hands, desperately. I loosened my grip, hearing her gasp. The mouth is wide open, trying to breathe. "Listen, love, but don't say a word, understand?" She held my wrists, her breath caught in her chest. She nodded. "You have two options. One, you talk, say one damn thing, make one stupid excuse for being a lying cheater, try to justify it somehow, and I swear I'll finish what I started. Nod if you understand." I squeezed her throat to make sure she understood, and she nodded quickly. "Okay, your second choice, and it only lasts a few minutes. You leave this house, get in your car, and start driving. I don't care where, but you drive straight, as far as you can from here, and don't stop until it gets dark. Don't look back, and you'll never see me again. Stop using my last name. You'll never contact Nick, Gail, or anyone in your damn company again. I'll leave the joint account and your bank card. Open for 2 weeks. Then I will close everything. You will become a ghost, a memory after this. You gave me some wonderful years, so this is my gift to you, even a hint. I will find you and finish it. That I started. This is what I promise. If you contact someone, they will receive the same treatment as you. This goes for everyone." I stepped back and saw tears in her frightened eyes. "Do you realize I'm serious? Choose carefully. At this point, I'm hoping you'll choose the second option, actually." She climbed off the bed and began to dress in silence. When she finished, she turned to me at the door, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. You'll never see me again." For a moment, I was sorely tempted to get up and go after her for what she was saying, choosing the first option, but I let her go. I put on my pants and noticed that the cleaning crew had finished and left. I sat down and drank straight from Nick's finest bottle of bourbon. As I sat there, I started to get even angrier. My damn best friend. My wife. Damn it. Someone will pay. 10 minutes later, desperate plans began to form. I jumped up and left. 15 minutes later, I was at the Plano Spy Center security store. I've driven past it dozens of times, but never imagined I'd use it. They were helpful, and I must admit they had a variety of solutions for what I was looking for. On the way back to Nick's house, I bought a few more things. Within a couple of hours of my return, I equipped the house with the latest technology. The technology was not cheap. Most of the hidden cameras cost several $100s each at that damn store. But that was okay, Brenda's business would pay for it. I'll definitely take care of this. Cameras in smoke alarms, hidden cameras in books, fake cameras in chargers, I've installed them all. With the completion of the first stage, I began the second. I trashed the place, brought dirt from the yard, described the carpet. I cut up the fish and placed the pieces deep into several of its vents. Did the same with some raw chicken meat. I went to the garage and turned off the circuit breaker in the kitchen. I filled the cooler with paper towels. He even opened the shower and stuck a piece of fish in it. I shook the beer and sprayed it around the guest room. Another bottle for the main bedroom. I left the bed in the state it was in trashed. I wasn't worried about DNA or anything like that. It is unlikely that a simple case of vandalism will be thoroughly investigated. Besides, at that moment, I didn't care. Finally satisfied with my actions, I left the back door wide open and left a trail of dirt across his porch, walking back and forth several times, leading to the backyard. I broke the window leading to the guest bedroom from the outside and opened it. Made a few more tracks across the back deck to the window, dragged dirt into the guest bedroom. Having completed the second stage, I went home. It's time to start the third stage. I dealt with bills and credit cards, reported the cards stolen, closed the ones I could, and transferred money from joint accounts back to my business account. I needed anonymity and a way to cover my tracks, so for about $300, I set up a couple of corporations in Nevada with 24-hour service. It's amazing how easy it was. 10 minutes on the site, and it was all over. Now it was time to deal with Brenda. I loved her, really loved her unconditionally for 7 years. Over those 7 years, I left $7,000 in the joint account. Startup capital for her new life. I'll close it in a week. I hope she makes the right choice. It's late, so I made a call. Fourth stage. Hey, Gail, Brenda asked me to call you. Dave, I tried to contact her, but she hasn't answered us since the morning cleaning. Did something happen? She sounded nervous, and I wondered if the cleaning crew had said anything. I'm not sure. I got a call at work. She said she had to leave town, supposedly some kind of family emergency. I didn't know it was so unexpected. I forgot to mention that the family emergency involved her death if she didn't go away. I'm sorry to hear that. Did she say when she'll be back? No words. I'm guessing this will take a few days. She didn't take a lot of things. I think that was fair to say. Nothing means much. Will you let me know if you hear from her? Tell her I hope things work out for her. If I hear from her, you'll be the first to know. I woke up from a dream that was much better than I expected. I went to work as usual, but checked my bills regularly. She used her bank card, withdrew several $100s, and filled up the tank at a gas station in Louisiana. Looks like she was heading to Florida. She probably paid for her motel stay in cash. Not surprisingly, I received a call from Nick late that evening. How was your honeymoon? I asked. Dave, my house is trashed. When was the last time you were there? Oh my God, really? I checked your mail and stuff the day before yesterday. Everything was fine then. I'm sure I locked the door after myself. Looks like they broke in through a window. Left the house wide open. When we got back, there were 3 damn cats, and the place was a complete dump. Why the hell would anyone do that? Probably kids from the area. Vandals. Do you know who could have done this? Nobody harmed you personally? Hell no. As far as I know, I have no enemies in this world. That doesn't make sense. Probably just bad luck. A real pity, too. I know Brenda sent her team down there a couple days ago to clean your house when you got back. It was a belated wedding present. Damn. Is she around? I really need her help getting everything in order. Alice was supposed to move in tomorrow, but not in this state. She had a family emergency. She had to leave town. Sorry about that. Call Gail. I'm sure she can squeeze you in. Between her thighs, I thought. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Damn bad luck. I felt a little better as I saw the pieces of my plan slowly coming together. In the evening at home, I went to the office where Brenda was working on her business documentation. Her computer was password protected, but nothing special. She used the same 3 passwords for everything, and this was no exception. Looks like the bitch trusted me. Thank God for all the people who don't know anything about security. I laughed at how easy it was to access all of her data. When she logged into the business website, Chrome automatically filled in her username and password. 1 click and I was in the system. A few hours later, I knew everything. When the special services began, how their range expanded. Who were the clients? How often did they request services? How much did they pay? Nick was scheduled for a full clean the next day, and I was pleased to see that he had selected some of the special options. I printed out names, addresses, emails, phone numbers. I had plans for this data. Then I checked the bank accounts. Once again, auto-filling passwords was helpful. Their bank account was quite healthy, with over $80,000 in it. Over the past few months, they have been earning more than $15,000 a month. I checked the deposits and withdrawals, and was a little surprised to see that my wife had not touched it. I don't know why this was the case, but I was going to keep an eye on it. I received an email on my computer with new corporate information. It took less than 18 hours. Quite surprising, thanks to the internet. Opening a bank account in the Cayman Islands was a little more complicated. Most could be done online with a phone call and some notarized documents and a passport with an apostille to prove its authenticity. I had to do this. The good thing is that once the process has been established, it will be easier to open the next ones. Back to the Nevada corporations, I opened two more that were created by previous corporations. The money came from my wife's bank card visa. Again, I paid for the service within 24 hours. I was becoming a master at this. Hopefully, after this week, I will never have to do anything like that again. After being in the shadows for 9 months of cheating and lying, it felt good to have something to do. Anything. Things have been going well for me so far. I think I've covered most of my bases. Another check of our personal accounts revealed that Brenda had transferred $6,000 from our joint account to the new one. She was in the Orlando area, according to ATM withdrawals. She was still using the map, making no effort to hide her tracks. I didn't ask her to do this, and she didn't seem to mind leaving a mark. Apparently, she believed that if I wanted to find her, I would do it. There have been no emails, text messages, or calls from her since she left. She seemed to take my words seriously. Fine. No one could say she wasn't smart. Maybe a lying cheater, but not stupid. I thought about throwing her things out of the rooms, but decided not to. When I reported her missing in a few days, I wanted it to seem like I was expecting her back. Still no contact, no messages. She disappeared. I used my key to get into Nick's apartment after he finished cleaning. Everything looked clean, but it smelled bad. There were air fresheners everywhere. This made me smile. I checked the hidden camera footage and found what I was looking for in the bedroom. I guessed correctly that he wouldn't be able to resist the latest VIP treatment. Everything I needed. I replaced the cameras and left long before he returned. At home, I watched the video more carefully. Gail was there, entertaining Nick with her VIP services. Good image, HD, faces are clearly visible. There's no doubt that Gail was another sex-on-demand bitch. I watched it twice, just for information, you know. I was wondering if they charged the same amount. Gail was not as attractive as my wife and seemed less skilled, but her breasts had to be taken into account. All in all, nothing to sneeze at. The equipment was a little expensive, but it worked great. I had everything I needed. Fifth stage. Personal VPN service from a cheap used laptop using the Starbucks network. Not perfect anonymity, but pretty good. I launched 2 new corporations and completed the process of opening business accounts in the Cayman Islands. The last banking step is opening an account in Switzerland. In fact, I had no idea if my scheme would work. I'm not a financial genius, but I am a pro at searching for information on Google. It only took me a few minutes to understand how these overseas accounts work. Each one cost several thousand to open, but I didn't spend any money, just moved them around. It only cost me a few hundred a year, and it doesn't last long. I invested money from my accounts, allocating it up front, but expecting to get it back. The Swiss bill was not one of those famous numbered bills. Nothing special, just an ordinary Swiss current account with all the privacy and security inherent in it. I even had to do a face-to-face video conference and tell them where the money came from. I was honest and explained that it was my own corporation's money. I told them that I was planning to expand operations in Europe. I made the first translation and everything was ready. It seemed to me that I needed one more day for everything to work out. I was impatient to act, but I convinced myself to wait. I didn't sleep well that night. I was nervous and waited. The next day, I got a call from Gail, and I wondered if I had waited too long. Dave, it's Gail. Have you heard anything from Brenda? Not a sound, I answered honestly. I didn't expect to hear from her. I'm starting to worry. I'm sure she would have called when she got to her family. And I didn't hear anything either. That's not her style. Aren't you starting to worry? I'm starting. You can understand that things could be tense there, but 3 days without news. I'll call tonight and find out what's going on. Did she? Did she say anything about cleaning Nick's place? Not a word. When I spoke to Nick, he seemed to say he was going to invite you for a VIP treatment. I couldn't resist. It was stupid to say this, but I felt the need to tease her. Oh, he mentioned that we actually cleaned up after the vandals trashed his place. Looks like Brenda cleaned up before she left. She didn't tell you anything about it, and you didn't tell me either. No, we don't talk much about her daily activities. Any problems? Not really. It's just that things get a little more difficult without her. I tried not to show my anger in my voice. When I talk to her, I'll be sure to remind her to call you. If you hear anything from her, let me know, okay? Okay? I'm just worried about her. And a little tired, maybe. Me too. If something happens, I'll help as best I can. After I hung up the phone, I realized that I couldn't put things off any longer. I called her family. It was a calculated risk, but I was fairly confident that she would keep a low profile, at least for now. They confirmed that they had not heard from her and expressed concern when I told them that she had left in their direction. Call me if you hear from her, please. I'm starting to worry. I played the role of the concerned husband to the best of my ability. I started the final phase. I transferred money from a business account to the first corporation in Nevada, opened in her name, and paid with her bank card. I did all this through an anonymous VPN. I didn't take all the money. I left enough to cover the bills without the payments starting to bounce. After that, I erased her hard drive, removed it from the computer, and replaced it with a new, clean OS. I disassembled the old disk, drilled the plates, and scattered their pieces. There was no turning back. The next day, Thursday, was the riskiest day, and I took sick leave for several days. The drive to the border took the better part of a day, and I made it to El Paso and from there to Mexico. About $1,500 later, I was on a flight to Mexico City and from there to the Caymans. I withdrew money from one bank and transferred it to another, where I deposited it. I was a little paranoid and wore a baseball cap and sunglasses to change my appearance. I spent the night and returned to Mexico the next day, completely exhausted. I kept $5,000 with me for expenses, still managed to leave over $80,000 in the new account. On the way home, I paid for everything in cash. Everything I did had a lot of risk and not much gain, but I couldn't help myself. I was still burning with anger. My wife, a cheating bitch, her fellow partner, and my ex-best friend who slept with both of them. With the money 2 steps removed, I began the second part of my revenge. Back at the internet cafe, the VPN connections were in place. I plugged in the USB and started downloading. It took the best part of 2 hours to complete my machinations, and then the emails began, inevitably destroying everything in their path. My anonymous postal service in Denmark converted emails into regular letters and sent them to recipients for less than $2 each and a $100 setup fee. A few $100s to make the pain worse. Digital and paper copies without taking a chance. I destroyed all evidence of my participation and relaxed. The next few days were terrible. My phone never stopped ringing. Angry spouses were screaming into the answering machine, calling me all kinds of bad names. I assumed that these calls were for my beloved wife. The company's website was closed, which is not surprising. I called the police and reported that my wife had disappeared 4 days ago. They asked why I hadn't reported her missing sooner, and I explained that she had gone to visit her family, and when I didn't hear from her, I contacted them, and they knew nothing about her visit. I gave them her car information and told them she had taken several $1,000s out of our account. over $6,000. They took down my information but didn't show much concern. They seemed to assume she had simply left. On Sunday morning, the police came to see me. I let them into the house and explained that I had not seen my wife for a week. I told them about her disappearance and my statement. They had a warrant and took my wife's computer. Good luck with that. They probably would have taken my laptop too if I hadn't left it at work. Not by chance. I anticipated their visit. I let them look through my wife's things and admitted that it looked like she only took a few outfits with her. No more than a week. Minimum cosmetics too. Looks like she left in a hurry, one of them said. I have no idea. She called me and said she had to go see her family, and when I got home, she was gone. How long have you been part of their scheme? He asked. I've been helping her with her cleaning business since the beginning. I didn't know about their extra services until I got an email a few days ago. That's not something a man would want to know about his supposedly faithful wife, I told them. They had a few more questions, and eventually I promised to contact them if I heard from her. I didn't think that would be the last time I would see them. I decided to visit my best friend. A former best friend, as it should be said, although he might not know it. He opened the door for me and invited me to enter the house. God, I can't believe what I'm hearing about your wife and Gail. Is it true? He asked, as if he didn't know. Fucking bastard. I don't know. She left a few days ago, and I haven't heard from her since. She doesn't look good. His new wife, Alice, came out to join us and offered me a beer. Judging by her behavior, it seems that Nick managed to intercept information about this. Nick acted nervous, but tried to hold on. I'm really sorry to hear that. I would never have expected that from Brenda, from either of them. If there's anything I can do to help, count on me. Alice sat down next to him, holding his hand. How nice. I took the photographs out of my jacket pocket and laid them out in front of them. Could you tell me how long you've been sleeping with Gail, and whether you've been sleeping with my wife too? I told him. The look of shock on his face was magnificent to see. He started reaching for the photographs, and I saw his wife drag some of them in front of her. Nick? She asked quietly, in a worried voice. Nick tried to grab the photos. It's not what you think, dear, he said. It was a long time ago before you and I started dating. The day after your honeymoon, you weren't together then? I asked. I could see how angry he was. Where did you get this? It's all fake. I leaned back in my chair and took a sip of my beer. Funny thing about this, I received an anonymous letter asking if I knew what my wife and her partner were doing. Unfortunately, I didn't know. Now I do. Along with the letter came their work schedules. Looks like you received their VIP service at least once every 2 weeks for the last 6 months. I received an interesting video of one of your cleanings. Would you like to watch? Still in denial, he turned to his new wife. It's not what you think. I swear it was just cleaning. According to the schedule, Brenda's team served you 3 out of 4 times. As you can imagine, this worries me a little. My supposed best friend has my wife every couple of weeks. Why did you do that, Nick? Why did you decide to cheat on Brenda? Especially when have you been engaged to Alice most of the time? I didn't do it, he whined. I sighed. I stood up and turned to Alice. If you want to see the evidence I have, you can come any time. It's pretty convincing. Why? Nick asked me. Why are you doing this? You slept with my wife, you bastard, I exclaimed. Everyone did it. It won't change anything between us. I laughed. This changes everything. Next time I see you, you better start running. I'll destroy you, and that's what you deserve. Dave. Shut up. Don't ever say my name again. Don't talk to me unless you're begging me to stop. I turned to the door. I wish you a miserable life, asshole. It was almost midnight when I found Gail knocking on the glass of the back door. I went to unlock the door. It looked terrible. Where is she? I need to talk to her, Gail said pitifully. Bitch number 2. How nice of you to come, I said. She blushed. It wasn't supposed to end like this. We were already starting to slow down. You have to believe me, Dave. Brenda and I weren't doing VIP services anymore. We had girls who did. I have photos and videos that say otherwise, I reminded her. She sat down, clearly upset. Only a couple of initial clients. That's it. Even with them, we began to reduce services. This was only until the business got back on its feet. I see. You were only part-time bitches now. How could I have missed that? Please, Dave. Where is she? I need to talk to her. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't seen or heard from her since she left. Gail looked at me nervously. It's not your idea, is it? I wish I could. I wish she were here and I could tell her what I think about her cheating and stupid ways, face to face. It makes it much harder to get divorced by running away. She took our money. Almost everything. I need this money. I need it for lawyers. Ron kicked me out. I'm not even going to fight him for this house. The police were there, a lot of angry wives. Phone calls never stopped. My family knows everything. Everyone knows, she was crying now. Poor little bitch, feeling sorry for herself. I stood up and opened a bottle of wine, pouring her a glass. She drank half of it in one gulp. I refilled it for her. What are you going to do? I asked, trying to sound concerned when all I really wanted to do was laugh at her, and maybe take a look at her big breasts. I don't know. I have almost no money left. My sneaky husband has blocked all the credit cards and bank accounts. I won't even have enough money for gas to get home if they even accept me. She raised her head, crying openly. This is not what I wanted, Dave. I swear, it was only until the business started to support itself. We spent over 2 years trying to make it work. We couldn't let it fail without trying. Again. I sat down next to her and took her hand in mine, even though it disgusted me. Gail, you cheated on your husband, just like Brenda cheated on me. Over and over again. For money. How did you think this would end? We never thought we'd get caught. It was just a couple of times in the beginning to finalize the deal. Married men who couldn't afford to talk about it. It was all so secret. Nobody had to get hurt. There was no love, no affection. It was just a business deal. You understand, don't you? Her hand held mine tightly, like a life preserver in a stormy sea. I'm sorry, I don't understand. I can't. I thought my wife loved me, but she cheated on me with half the town, including my best friend. She turned and grabbed my hand with both of hers. She really loves you. More than anything in the world. You are everything to her, you know. Everything. Hardly. By deceiving him, selling himself, and then running away with all his money. Did she take your money? A little less than $7,000, almost everything we had in our joint account. I've blocked her credit cards and other accounts, at least until I hear from her. Gail seemed to shrink inside. What do I do now, Dave? My marriage is broken, I'm broke, the police are coming for me, and I don't have a job. I let go of her hands and stood up. He returned a minute later and placed $500 bills in front of her. She looked at me, smiling. I wish I could give this up. Thank you. I extended my hand to her, and she took it, allowing me to pull her to her feet. She might not be as beautiful as Brenda, but she was still pretty good. Come on, baby. Let's go to bed. She immediately tensed. Sleep? I think it's worth a few nights in bed and a few cleanings, enough to last a couple of days. I saw how joy left her face, replaced by humility. I'm just easily accessible to you now, right? I nodded, dragging her along with me. Not just easily accessible, a special bitch. The one I've dreamed about more than once. She followed me into the bedroom. Go take a shower, wash your face. It won't be terrible, I told her. What happens after? She asked, her voice trembling. We'll have some fun. You can stay here instead of looking for a motel. I'll probably want to enjoy you a few times since I've been abstaining for over a week now. When you feel like you need to leave, we'll settle the deal. In the meantime, you can hide here. She raised her head and nodded. I think this is more than I deserve. Thank you. She washed herself well and dressed up nicely for me. She came to my bed naked. I'll give credit where it's due. She was good, damn good. Much better than my wife in this particular matter. We had sex with her several times. How could you think you'd never get caught? The first few times, you're dying of fear, afraid to go home, so sure he'll find out. Then it gets a little easier. Over time, you stop thinking about it. It's only temporary. You'll stop and everything will go back to normal. We were in error. My best friend, Gail, he slept with my wife for 6 months, doing things to him that she never did to me. She bragged to him about how he got what I didn't. She tensed. How did you know that? I ran into him. They sent me photos and videos. She looked at me. So you know who did this? Who exposed us? What do you think? I asked. Probably the husband of one of the girls. I don't know if she told it herself or if he found out by chance. Brenda must have gotten the news. She left so quickly. Were the assistants married too? 3 of them. Another one lived with a guy. It's really messed up, Gail. Can you forgive her? She suddenly asked. She never meant to hurt you. Nick was blackmailing her. 6 months. Who knows how many men, doing things that she denied me, lied to me, cheated on me when I supported her in everything. Hell, that makes me her pimp, because I helped her start a business so she could be a girl with easy behavior. Now everyone knows. I'm humiliated. I'm deathly afraid of going back to work and facing the consequences. No, I don't see how I could take her back. You could leave. Start over. It wasn't a connection. There was no other love. She was stupid, but she loves you. God, how she loves you. The way she talked about you. She would fix everything. I'm sure of it. I don't want to talk about it, I said angrily. Enough. I kissed the top of her head, lost in my feelings. I should have hated her, but I felt sorry for her. Her life was ruined. I'll give her shelter for a while, use her for my pleasure, but that's all. Still, I held her, feeling her soft skin, knowing her feelings for me, and that I had always loved her. She screwed up big time, but I didn't have the heart to punish her any more than I already did, exposing her, destroying her marriage, making her a laughing stock. What about Nick and my cheating wife? I couldn't figure out how to punish them enough. Brenda remained invisible. The police visited me twice more with no new information. The second time, a few weeks later, they told me they were no longer looking for her. She seemed to have left of her own free will and did not want to be found. I didn't hear from her, and when she stopped using her bank card and joint account, she disappeared. I assumed she was somewhere in the Orlando area, maybe in Tampa. Nick's marriage is over. I was surprised that his wife got anything in just a few weeks of marriage, but apparently she had a good lawyer. Then I found out why. She was pregnant. Poor thing. The lawyers agreed that nothing would be finalized until the birth of the child and confirmation of parenthood, but the house was sold and it paid for the maintenance of 2 households. He was a programmer working in it. Why someone found him one night and beat him to a pulp, breaking his arms and fingers, I have no idea. Someone must have been very uncomfortable with him. It cost me $2,000. The money was well spent. I figured out that twice a month for 5 months, about $200 at a time, amounted to $2,000. He paid himself. The irony of fate. This bastard disappeared a little later. I decided to keep an eye on the divorce, and if he returned to town, perhaps I would arrange another visit for him. As far as I know, he never returned. For 7 months I kept Gail and used her well. As I wanted, when I wanted. It wasn't cheap. It didn't cost much to keep and feed her, but I spent about $15,000 of her own money on her lawyers. She was released on probation. There wasn't enough evidence, so they made a deal. Photos of her with this bastard were declared simply consensual sex. The two had known each other for many years. The business actually did cleaning, and any payments received were for that very service. VIP service only if cleaning is included. Her lawyer probably had a good argument. Gail was grateful. She kept my house immaculately clean, cooked, and took care of me. If I was angry with her for something, she would give me what I needed for the night and go to the guest room without complaining. When I was sad about my lousy life, she would hug and comfort me. She was exactly what I needed to get over my wife's infidelity. Yes, I understood the irony. It was Saturday, a few months after her divorce was finalized. We spent the entire day spoiling each other. It's time, I told her quietly. Time? Move on. I felt her tense up. How much time do I have? What do you want? I don't know. I need to find a job. Place. You need to start looking. Let me know how you get on. Are you sure? What we have is good, isn't it? Very good. You've been wonderful to me, baby, but I need to move on. I can't help but think about her when you're around. You understand, don't you? She nodded, pressing herself against my chest, then kissed him softly. I understand. I didn't deserve this. I know that. You were more than generous. I'll start on Monday. She moved. I found a small apartment to share, got a low-paid job as a receptionist. She looked good, better than ever. She was in good shape when I took her in, and she worked hard to improve it for me. It paid off. Oddly enough, we remained friends. Friends with benefits for a long time. My own divorce went through, and I started dating again. For some reason, I've never tried this before. I don't think it was because I was faithful to my marriage, because I sure as hell used Gail thoroughly and often. I was in a few exclusive relationships for a while, but I couldn't find what I needed. I enjoyed those times, but when they ended, I met Gail again. She kept some things at my house and stayed with me more often than going home, but this was different. She was mine when I wanted her, but she came back to herself when I told her to. She never left alone. Every couple of months, she did a little research. Can you forgive her already? I don't think I'll ever do it. It was too much. I will explain. The same damn conversation over and over again, always during sex when I was at my weakest. She wouldn't push too hard, just send out those little tentacles. I began to wonder if she was communicating with Brenda, if only she knew. I asked her, and she denied it. No, I don't know where she is, and I haven't heard anything about her. Then why the questions? I think you need her. If you were ready, I would find her for you. It's the least I could do. Bring back this cheating bitch. Do you think you will do me a favor? I snapped angrily. She looked sad. Yes, if you found the right girl, I would stop. I want you to be happy, Dave. I wish this were with me. I understand that this is impossible. I know what it could be like for Brenda if you could find a way to forgive her. All I had to do was remember how she lay there, naked and ready to go. Laughter and jokes, telling me how wonderful it was, all the while thinking it was Nick. I gave him my ass, which she always denied me. God, this annoyed me. That won't happen, Gail. It was too much. They say time heals all wounds. It may have cured mine, but it left terrible scars. It was 4 long years before I was able to move on. My business was going well, my anger had subsided, and I was getting the best sex in the world whenever I wanted it. But I needed more. I met her at the last place I would have expected Arby's. She bumped into me and dropped her tray with all the food. She was having a bad day. She started crying. I couldn't resist tears. I sat her down at the table, took her tray and receipt, went to the counter, and they replaced everything for free. I brought her food back and left her alone. She barely had time to stop crying to thank me. She must have lived nearby. I bumped into her 3 more times, twice in the supermarket, before we both laughed and said we should stop seeing each other like that. I bought her coffee. A week later, I came across her again. I had already figured out that she shops on Saturday mornings, and I spent 2 hours in the store before I accidentally found her. Her smile made my day. She let me buy her lunch. I left with her number. The next day, I asked her out on a date. It's a small world. She was 28, divorced, without children. 4 years ago, she had only been married a year when she learned that her husband, who worked from home, used a certain cleaning company once a week. I talked about my wife's affair. She left, leaving her food half-eaten. I didn't see her for 4 weeks, although I was hiding near the market. I called her every day for a few days, then every other day, then stopped. I got the hint. Gail calmed me with her body, often and thoroughly. This woman knew how to comfort. I shopped late, not wanting to see her. But it didn't matter. It was after 7:00 p.m., and she came up to me. "I'm sorry, it hurt too much." "Me too," I told her. "I didn't want to hurt you anymore, so I decided to leave you alone." "Do you know your number is blocked?" she asked. "Yeah, I still get awkward calls. He's not in the phone book." I couldn't call. I was in that damn supermarket for almost 9 hours. I drank so much coffee that I was already swimming. I was afraid that you would find another place to shop. 2 weeks later, she stayed with me overnight. The next week, I broke up with Gail. If I had known this was our last time, perhaps I would have done it differently. Jenny and I spent the weekend together, mostly in bed, telling each other our full stories. She couldn't get over my relationship with Gail. "You can take care of one cheater, continue dating her, but leave your wife for the same thing." She sounded angry. "I can't understand it myself," I admitted. "I think the difference is that Gail didn't cheat on me. She gave me what I needed when my life was a mess. She felt so guilty that she catered to me in everything. That helped. When I was ready to move on, she let me go, without scandals." She shook her head at me. "God, Dave, I can't believe I fell in love with the most confused guy in the world." I laughed, pulling her naked body closer. "Have you fallen in love with me?" "Yes, sometimes you're dumber than a box of rocks." Jenny was good to me. We got along well together. Not crazy, passionate love. I think it only happens once, and I already had my chance. But good enough to make our relationship permanent for a year. She was very attractive, had a wonderful body, and looked great on my shoulder when I attended events. She was generous in bed and extremely affectionate. I liked the attention. She swore allegiance and pushed away everyone who pestered her. She danced only with me and made it clear to the world who she was. I loved her, especially when she gave birth to my child. I know that she loved me more than I loved her, but that was okay. I was happy. The sex wasn't as incredible as with Gail, but it was very good, sometimes great. I didn't think about her every minute of the day, always planning new ways to please her like I did with Brenda, but I thought about her often. I loved her reaction when I gave her a small gift or took her on a surprise day out. She was loving, beautiful, faithful, and a wonderful mother. Everything a man could want. The strangest thing was that she became friends with Gail, my ex-lover and the woman who participated in the destruction of her marriage. I still don't know how they met. I think Gail might have been following me. I didn't think they had much in common, but they became close. Gail visited us often. I thought it would be awkward, but it wasn't. Jenny was 8 months pregnant with her second child and on bed rest. Gail came and helped around the house. We began to depend on her. She was still cleaning like crazy. I no longer wore special outfits, which I must admit I missed. We were relaxing in the living room late at night. My daughter Rebecca had long since gone to bed. "It's enough?" Gail asked. "What?" "What you have with her. With Jenny, you seem happy. Is that enough?" "I'm happy. She's a good woman. I have a wonderful daughter and will soon have a son." "Can you forgive her now?" she asked. "Why? She's not in my life. I hardly think about her." "I know you, Dave. I've loved you for years. You've settled in." I felt angry at her words. A loving, faithful wife. That's what I have. She nodded sadly. "Yes, she loves you to death. She will die, but she will not cheat on you." "Why are you doing it?" "I need to know. I'm sorry. I wanted more for you. Not just contentment. You deserve more." "I'm happy, Gail. Happier than I've ever been." "I know. I'm happy for you. It's been a long 7 years." She took my hand. I can never thank you enough for what you did for me. You didn't have to. You could have abandoned me, burned me, punished me like you did to them. She left me, I reminded her. It's okay, Dave. I understand. We deserved it. All of us. This and more. Don't ever think otherwise. It was cruel, but we deserve it. I finally understood what she was saying. She knew it was me. She humiliated me, Gail. I loved her so much, and to see her like that, the way she called me by his name. I could barely contain the pain, my eyes filled with tears to the limit. I know, she knows too. She will never contact you, but she would give anything to hear your voice again. If you could forgive her, maybe she could move on. Start living. How long? 4 years now. I needed to know. To understand why she ran away, it was cruel. Cruel? How was she not cruel? What she did was bad. What she did was terrible. We all understood that. But she would never want to hurt you on purpose. You know that. She knew exactly what she was doing. Dating other men, giving them things she never gave me, laughing at me behind my back. How can you call that unintentional? The action was bad. What she did was terrible. We all realized that. But she would never want to hurt you on purpose. She forgave you a long time ago. Can't you do the same for her? I I don't think I can. Every time I think about her, I see her for the last time. I hear those angry words. I can't get it out of my head. Even now, I don't think so. Someday I can. She sighed. I understand. I'm sorry. I think it would be good for you. I know it would help her a lot, even though she may not deserve it. I can't help but think about how wonderful you have been to me, as you still are. Even now, sharing your life with me, this little piece. Can you please forgive her? I can't. I can't yet. She laid her head on my shoulder. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Sorry for causing pain again. She fell silent for a minute. I'm dating someone. This surprised me. I don't think she's dated anyone since everything went down. Do you like him? Yeah, he's not you, but he's good and kind, and he really seems to love me. There's only so much I can do, Gail. She looked up at me, and I saw tears in her eyes. You are, still, the best in so many ways. After what I did to your business, to you, can you still say that? Absolutely. We deserve this and more. You know I will always love you, but it's time for me now. Time to move on. I know you love her, your new wife, and that's good. I hope you will remain happy. You have a wonderful family. I hope everything works out for you with. Jeffrey E. Davidson is the third. He's so proud of the third. I hope it works out too. Can we still be friends? I hope. She stood up and kissed me. This was not the kind of kiss a woman should give a married man. I realized that this was goodbye. We both moved on. I went to bed with my loving, faithful wife. I held her stomach, feeling random movements. She didn't ask why I was crying. She was content to roll over and hug me. I didn't know how I felt, but I was glad she was there, her big belly between us. I didn't know how she got my work number. The call came suddenly and hit me like a bolt from the blue. Hello, Dave, she said. I would recognize that voice anywhere. He would never disappear from my memory. 5 years of marriage to another woman, almost 10 years without her voice, did not change anything. Hi, Brenda. Will you come to me, please? Now? After 10 years? Yes, please. Soon. I know I have no right to ask, and you definitely don't owe me anything, but I'm still a selfish bitch, apparently. I need to see you. Talk to you face to face. Please. Call me a wimp, a fool, anything. I agreed. I couldn't tell Jenny what I was doing. I should have, but I couldn't. I told her it was a business trip. I only went away a couple of times a year, but that wasn't unusual. Not so far. 7 hours by car. She was no longer in Florida. Only one state away from me. I booked a room on the outskirts of the city, called home and slept restlessly. I had a late breakfast, procrastinating, trying to muster the courage I needed. I drove up to the address, trembling. I could barely breathe as I looked at the dilapidated apartment building. I pressed the button to enter the building and heard her voice. "Get up, Dave. To be. The door is open." The door clicked, and I walked up the stairs as if I were going to the scaffold. I knocked, then turned the doorknob and entered her apartment. It was devastating. Small, but incredibly neat. Immaculate. It was a tribute to our marriage. There are photographs of us together and my family everywhere. The family we were meant to have together. The one she deprived us of. It was humiliatingly painful, like a blow to the groin. I stood there, trembling. Everything came back. "I'm in the back room," I heard her say. In her bedroom. Did she think it would be that easy, that I can touch her again? What was she thinking? Renewed anger strengthened my limbs, and I walked towards her voice. The room was open, and there was a shadow lying on the bed, looking at me. Exhausted, with sunken eyes, sunken cheeks. Her dull hair was pulled back tightly. "Hey, Dave. Sorry, I wasn't up." Her appearance was alarming. The voice I knew and loved came from within the shell of the woman in front of me. "Hi, Brenda. Long time no see." She smiled, and I saw a sparkle in her eyes, a sparkle that I once adored. She patted the bed next to her, and I sat up, still unable to fully comprehend what I was seeing. "Photos?" I asked, grasping for something to say. "Gail did this for me. I had a couple from Facebook, but it wasn't enough. She made copies and sent them to me. She's keeping me posted. I hope you don't mind." I shook my head. "It's not great." She laughed, and I saw her wince. "That's the least of my problems, Dave." She reached out and placed a trembling hand on mine. "Thank you for coming." I was fascinated by engagement rings. The ring I gave her. I saw a white ribbon wrapped around the ring to keep it in place on her bony finger. Why am I here? Like I said, I guess I'm still a selfish bitch. There are 4 things. First, I have to tell you how sorry I am. I have no excuses. I did a terrible thing, and you showed it to me. I think we both paid a high price for my betrayal. It was the worst thing I could have done, and I spent every day of my life regretting it. I never meant to hurt you, and for that I am forever sorry that I did it. And especially since it hurt you. You didn't deserve anything like that. It's been 10 years, Brenda. 10 years since you ruined the best thing I ever had. You ruined me once, but I've moved on. I know. However, I needed an apology you never gave me. You apologized when you left, if I remember. I said the words, but at that moment I was too full of self-pity. This apology was as much for my own loss as it was for yours. Selfish. I'm sorry. She squeezed my hand lightly. Second, I have to tell you that I forgive you. I haven't forgiven you for a while. You hurt me, and I was angry. You didn't give us a chance. I may not have deserved it, but I wanted it. It was necessary, and you refused me. After almost 2 years, I forgave you. I didn't ask for your forgiveness. I know, but I still forgave you. I'm sorry for what I did, and I forgive you for what you did. And now, perhaps, you want me to forgive you. Yes, please. This is number 3. For your sake, if not for my sake. Can you forgive me for being so stupid, so selfish? For not thinking about us when I was so desperate to prove my business success? I did the unforgivable, but I still ask. Why? Why did you do to them things you wouldn't do for me? Why did you laugh at me? What did I do to deserve this? Nothing. You've done nothing but be a wonderful, supportive husband. A wonderful husband. An incredible lover. Her facade of calm cracked and her voice wavered. It was work, Dave. I didn't like it most of the time. I often fantasized that it was you when I let them take advantage of me. The chatter, the stupid words were just words. Idiocy, I know. I swear as God knows, I never had fun, especially not with Nick. I hated him for what he did to me. I'm sorry that all these years you were forced to believe the opposite, because I never had a chance to explain. Were you faking it? Am I supposed to believe this? She nodded, her eyes sparkling. I have no reason to lie. Not now. It is what it is. It doesn't change the fact that I cheated on you. Cheated on you. I was a terrible wife. But I beg you to believe me, I never had fun. I beg you. I'm sorry. Tears streamed down her face, and seeing her lying there, as destroyed as her body, I could no longer refuse her forgiveness. I forgive you, Brenda. She shook her head. No, not words. I don't care about words, Dave. I need you to do it. Forgive that selfish, cheating, lying bitch for ruining our marriage, breaking your heart, and stealing your future. For not giving me the children you wanted and deserved. For ruining the best thing that could have happened to both of us. God, I did a terrible thing, and it's so unfair, but I need it. She leaned forward, clinging to my hand, shaking, sobbing, tears soaking my skin. I gently laid her back on the bed, wiping away her tears. I lay down next to her, hugged her, and her moans were heartbreaking. I didn't think anyone could endure so much pain. I did this to her. I didn't realize it, but I punished her more than anyone deserved. I destroyed my one true love. Not that she didn't give me a reason, but did she deserve it? I'm sorry I hurt you, honey, and I forgive you. All of this. This is the end, Brenda. I loved you with all my heart, and it hurt me more than I can say, but you're still my first true love, and I forgive you. I know you never meant to hurt me. She didn't deny me. She clung to me until the tears stopped and the trembling disappeared. I looked into those eyes, the eyes that won my heart many years ago. I pressed my lips to her dry, cracked lips and felt her welcoming response. There was no passion in it, but there was love. Love and forgiveness. I lay next to her, looking into the windows of her soul, open, pleading. I forgave her. Thank you, she whispered. Please, I'm sorry it took so long. She shook her head. No more apologies. I have one more request. This may be difficult, or it may be the easiest thing in the world. I don't know. Ask. I ask you to keep your promise. What promise? That day, that terrible day, when I looked into your eyes and saw what I had done, you promised me something. I need you to keep it. She lost me. She took my hands in hers and lifted them up. With horror, I felt her pull them towards her neck. I pulled them back, but her thin arms were stronger than they seemed, and she abruptly pulled them back, clasping them around her neck. I don't have much time left. Days, maybe a couple of weeks at best. I know it's selfish of me, but I want you to be the last thing I see. The love I had. Let me pretend for a moment that the last 10 years didn't happen. You told me that you love me, you always will. Even through the pain, I saw it in your eyes, but it faded away. Let me go, thinking that you are everything. Still love me a little. As I should have all these years, if I had the courage, when love was still there, devoted but strong. SHH, I told her, bringing my finger to her lips. Do you know how much I love you, Brenda? I've always loved you. From the first time I saw you. Always will. My hands fell on her neck. My lips touched hers. I'll keep my promise. That's how much I loved you. Still do. I saw the corners of her mouth turn up slightly one last time. Her eyes remained glued to me even as the light in them faded, slowly disappearing forever. Her lips moved, saying the last, I love you. I will always love you, I whispered. I kissed her cold lips and closed her eyelids. I took the ribbon off her dark hair and let it down. I always liked seeing her like this. I pulled back the sheet and saw that she was naked. I didn't put on anything special, but I chose her best lingerie and dressed her. I covered her with the sheet again, gently laying her down for her last nap. I once loved her, the black-haired beauty who promised me her love until death do us part. She kept that promise. My love has faded, but enough remains to fulfill this one hated promise. Long way home. I needed my wife, my beautiful children. I hoped that Jenny would still understand and not ask questions if I fell asleep again crying in her arms. This happened for the first time in almost 3 years. Brenda forgave me. I forgave her. I wonder how long it will take before I can forgive myself.